Okay, so I know what everyone is asking right now because I've been seeing the question being asked on a lot of different talk shows and a lot of different YouTube channels. And that question is, okay, so the banks have blown out earnings during a pandemic. What does that really mean? Does this mean that they are now the new hot and trending growth stock? Well, this is my take on this whole situation, and it's quite interesting. So, any of the banks that have moved different operations down into the States, companies like BMO had a 67% growth year over year in US operations. This was all pushed from consumer demand. This was not pushed by loans. This was mostly pushed by opening accounts, bank fees. Bank fees could incorporate anything from ETFs. Obviously, BMO has been doing really well when it comes to the ETF space. I've covered a lot of their different ETFs that they have up here in Canada. And then also mutual funds, which of course some people still purchase mutual funds. I personally now shy away from them. They have high MER costs. And then there is the third factor, which is bank fees. More accounts means more bank fees, and bank fees can come from anything from somebody not having enough money in their account, and that's $20 a month per person. It's a great revenue stream, but kind of not moral, I guess you could say, because if they don't have the money, how are they going to pay it? But also, when it comes to different fees, like a credit fee. So there's been a lot of, they obviously have credit cards. They offer credit cards in Canada and the United States, same as TD. TD doesn't report earnings until tomorrow. CIBC has credit cards. They all have credit cards. They all charge a fee. And what I mean by that is I'm not talking about the interest fee. Obviously, they're making interest from people who cannot pay their credit cards right now because they don't work. But also from the fees of every time you swipe or use your card. If you don't know, every time you swipe your card, it costs the store anywhere from 1 to 4% per transaction. And of course, the bank is taking a part of that percent, and Visa, MasterCard, whoever is taking the rest of that percent. That's how those companies make money. So what is this telling us? Well, Visa and MasterCard seem to be very interesting companies to purchase as a stock investment because, of course, there's more people using credit cards because of online shopping, but also because of just the pandemic. People can't pay for things, so they have a credit card, they'll stick it on there, and they'll pay it off over however many years. Not a great way of running a credit card, but when you're stuck in a situation like this, you just have to do something to get your life continuing, right? So I don't really I understand what I should say is when people are using their credit cards and they can't pay them off just because they have no job. But then there's all of these factors involved, and also they have their own trading platforms. More and more people are trading stocks. It's becoming a new big hot and trending topic because, of course, people want to make money when they're at home doing nothing because their jobs are now taken away from them because of the government. So, because of all of these factors, the banks seemed to be not doing so well because of the loans not working out. People can't pay their mortgages because they're out of work. But all of these fees that they charge are still making them money. So now these banks are no longer looking as a investment where, hey, interest went up, banks are going to make more money. Interest rates are low, banks aren't going to make money. Interest rates don't really matter all that much anymore, and they have now worked over all of the major Canadian banks have now moved over to a fee-based structure, similar to those video game manufacturers who are making an absolute boatload from kids. These banks are now making money from adults, just like the same as how these video game manufacturers are making it from kids, from fees, from monthly subscriptions, things like that. So this is why I am now saying that over the next couple of years, at least 1 to 2 years minimum, The banks are the new hot and trending growth stock because they're making a killing from credit cards. They're making a killing from bank accounts. The more bank accounts you have, the more fees you're going to be paying. And from trading, from ETFs, from mutual funds. Look at all of these monthly subscription costs that nobody really paid attention to until now because they're seeing massive growth. Yeah. Remember how Jim Cramer and all those other analysts were saying, well, Apple's bringing out a new product every year, but they have to keep on bringing out new products to be continuing to make more money. And then they started paying or charging for Apple Care type stuff. When it comes to Apple Care, of course you get a new product, you get Apple Care. Of course, when you get, and that's like an every 2-year thing, so that's okay. But when you start getting into the subscription costs of Apple, you have Apple Music, you have Apple TV, you have that Apple Fitness thing that I don't pay for. You've got that Apple Cloud stuff that I get forced to pay for. Same as Google. Google has ads, and of course they're making money on ads, but they're also making money on cloud. Same as Amazon, they're making money on cloud as well. This is all subscription-based stuff. If you can find companies that have growing subscription bases and growing at huge numbers, like 67% a year, you need to buy into them, and you need to buy into them fast, because I'm going to tell you right now, my thesis on buying a bank, and I'm going to go into this later, buying a bank, I generally want to aim for 10 or 11 on the PE ratio or lower. Now, these banks are trading at 13 to 15, somewhere as low as 12. Like TD is currently at 12, and who knows what's going to happen tomorrow. They announce their earnings tomorrow. But when they start making a 67% increase year over year on subscription-based revenue, that 10 to 15 ratio of PE ratio, that's no longer the fact. You're going to start seeing banks most likely seeing a 15 to 20 PE ratio being normal because they have such huge growth in those revenue streams that are going to be there no matter what. It's not like if you're going to be like, oh, there's a recession, I can't pay my loan, I better take all my money out of the bank account. That's not going to happen. You can't. You literally cannot go to the bank and say, hey, I got $56,000 in the bank. Hey, dude, I want all of that money in my pocket. Gimme. You can't. And first off, where are you going to put it, in your mattress? It's not going to happen. So that's what banks are for. And even if you don't have money in the bank, you still have a bank account. I had a girlfriend way back 10 years ago who was always negative in her bank account. She was always negative $10, $15, $20. Now, even though she was negative $10, $15, $20 every single day, she was still paying bank fees, and she was paying even more bank fees because she was in overdraft. And that's when I started thinking, hey, that's subscription base. That's going to be the future. That's the future of banking, is subscription base. Some kind of a subscription, whether it be overdraft, whether it be a bank fee of $20 a month. Yeah, some are $12, but the average is around $20 as far as I've seen. That's $20 a month. How many customers can they have? And then TD went down to the States. CIBC went down to the States. I don't know if CIBC still has a U.S. operation, but I think they still do a little bit. I think they sold a part of it. And then BMO went down to the States. Scotiabank's down in South America. Scotiabank's over in Europe. All of these banks are starting to say, well, if we can make these subscription fees in Canada, we can make these subscription fees everywhere. So that's the future in my mind. Of course, never trust a random guy like myself on YouTube. Do your own research, make your own ideas, and of course, think for yourself. But I hope that this video is kind of giving you a couple of interesting ideas as to why I think that banks are going to have a fantastic future, at least for the next 1 to 2 years, and maybe even more. I'll see you guys again in my next video.